Hey there, welcome back to another video. This is Roshan's Rake Matthew, and in this video, we are going to perform exploratory data analysis on the Airbnb dataset that is available on Kaggle. This dataset belongs to the tourism domain, and if you are someone looking forward to gain experience in performing EDA related to tourism domain or EDA in general, then this video is for you. If you want to know more in detail about the different visualization techniques used in this video, I've done separate videos on this topic and I'll share the links in the description down below. Make sure to check them out. Before moving forward, if you're new to this channel and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and turn on bell notification to stay updated each time I upload a new video. Stay tuned. So first, let's import the required libraries. So we're importing Pandas and NumPy for basic data operations. Then we're importing Matplotlib and Cbound for creating our visualizations. Then we're importing style to set a style for the plot, and here we are setting the style as ggplot. Now let's load the dataset for this data. And for this dataset, we'll have to load it in a special way. We are setting the low memory as false to import large datasets that have mixed type of data, and this ensures that all the data types are accurately loaded into the data frame. Now let's view the data using the head function. Now let's find the size of the dataset that we're dealing with. So this gives us the size of the dataset. To get more information about the dataset, we can use the info method. So this will give us the number of the non-null entries, the data types, and the number of rows and the number of columns in our data. To get the statistical information about the dataset, we can use the describe method. So this gives us the count, the min, max, the mean and standard deviation of the numerical entries in our data. Now to get the count of null values explicitly, we can use the isNull function. So this gives us a count of the different null values in our dataset. Now if we want to get the count of all the unique entries in each column, we can use a unique method. So nUnique basically gives you the number of unique entries for each column. Now let's remove the columns that are not very useful for our analysis. Now before proceeding to process or analyze any of the data, let's check for duplicates in our dataset and remove it. Let's see the size of the dataset once more. As we can see, the size of the dataset has reduced. We can use the info method once more to get more detailed information about the dataset. So as we can see, we have reduced the data from 26 columns to 20 columns, and we have also reduced the number of rows in our data. Next, let's calculate the percentage of missing values in our dataset. Let's create a data frame to put the results. So when we look at these values, we can see that the majority of the attributes have less than 1% of null values, and only 2 attributes have more than 15% of null values in them. Now instead of getting the null values like this, you can also use a visualization technique to see the null values in the dataset. So here on the right axis, you can see the count of the total number of entries, and on the individual columns, you can see the count of entries per column. Next, let's print the column names. Now let's replace the space in the column names with a special character. Let's see the modified column names. As you can see, we have removed all the spaces and replaced them with the underscore. Now let's get a count of the different categorical and numerical entries in a dataset. So that gives us an idea of the different categorical and numerical entries in a dataset. You can also use a head function to see the categorical and numerical entries separately. Let's start with the categorical column. So this gives us an idea about the categorical data. We can see that the price and the service fee are being shown with the categorical data. I'll explain this to you in a bit. Now let's visualize the different numerical data. Now let's start analyzing the different categorical entries before moving on to numerical entries. So let's first get a count of all the null values in the categorical data. Now let's start analyzing these columns individually. Let's start with the host identity column. So let's plot a count plot to see the different distribution of the data. As you can see, this gives us a nearly equal proportion. You can also plot this as a pie chart to get the percentage values. So that gives us a percentage distribution of the different values. Now if you just want the values of the different entries, you can use the value counts method. So that gives you the values of the different entries. Let's now replace the null values using the most common entries, which in this case is unconfirmed. Let's now check if the null values have been replaced. So as we can see, all the null values have been replaced. Let's now proceed to analyze the next column, neighborhood group. So neighborhood group has 7 unique values and 29 null values. So let's first visualize this data. Now let's get the value counts. If we look at the data, we can see that the most common occurring entries are Manhattan and Brooklyn. And if we take a closer look, we can see that the same labels have been entered in a different way. So let's clean this up. Now this should change the unique values in this column to 5. Let's check it out. Now let's replace the null values using the most occurring value, Manhattan. So that should take care of the null values. Now let's look at the next column, neighborhood. Okay, so there are a lot of different unique entries for this column. So let's take the top 15 values in the neighborhood and visualize it. So to do this, let's first get the count of the different entries and assign it to a different variable. Then let's take the top 15 entries. Now let's plot a bar plot to see this. So that gives you the top 15 entries in the data. Let's now look at the next column, country. As you can see, this column has only one unique entry. Now let's see the value counts. So this field has only one unique value and over 500 null values in it. So let's replace these null values. Now let's look at the next column, country code. This is similar to the country column, and let's apply the same steps as before. Now let's look at the next column, instant bookable. Let's visualize this data using a pie chart. Now instead of a pie chart, you can also use a more interesting visual by Plotly. So from this, you can get to see the proportion of the different entries in data along with the count of null values. Now let's replace the null values with false. But before that, here df temp equal to 1 is used to add a new column to the data frame df called temp with a value of 1 for each row. This is done to create a uniform count for each value in the instant bookable column, which will be used to create the pie chart. Now let's analyze the next column, cancellation policy. Okay, so we know that there are 3 unique values for this data. So now let's plot a count plot. Let's get the count of values for the different entries. Since the majority of the values belong to the moderate category, let's replace the null values with moderate. Now let's analyze the next column, room type. So let's first visualize the data using a count plot. So from this we can understand that majority of the room types here are entire homes or apartments or private rooms. So let's replace the null values in the dataset using entire home or apartment. Let's also get the value counts. The next column that we need to analyze are the price column and the service fee column. Now we know that these are numerical types, but they are being considered as string types because of that $sign in front. So first, let's remove the $sign and convert them to integer type. So let's define a function to do this for us. Now let's replace the $sign for both the columns. So let's print one of the columns to see if the change has been reflected. As we can see, the $sign has been replaced and the data type of the values has also changed. Let's now visualize the relationship between the price and service fee. To do this, we can use a scatter plot. So from this, we can see a linear relationship between the fee and the service fee. Now let's look at the last review column. We can see that this data is also stored as a text. Let's extract the year from this data and keep only the year. So let's define a function to do that. And when we print this data, the year has been extracted. Now let's visualize this data using a count plot. So from this we can see that the majority of the reviews are in the year 2019. Now for this data, let's replace the missing data with the median value. So let's first find the median value. And now let's replace the null values. Let's check if the null values have been replaced. Now that we have analyzed all the columns in the categorical data, let's check for null values once more. We can see that the majority of the null values in the categorical data are replaced. Now let's analyze the numerical data, but before that, let's get the column names from the dataset. Now let's start with the construction year and visualize this data. So from this we can see that the majority of the constructions happened between the year 2014 and 2015. So let's now check for null values. Let's now replace the null values using the mode. Similarly, let's plot a histogram for the availability of the rooms. So from this we can infer that the majority of the rooms are available for 0 to 4 days. So similarly, I am going to fill all the remaining null values using the mode except for the latitude and the longitude. Now let's see if the null values have been replaced for the numerical entries. Similarly, let's check the null values for the entire data. We can see that we have replaced majority of the null values in a dataset. You can also visualize this using a head function. Okay, so now that we have reduced the null values in the dataset, let's drop the rest of the entries with null values. And then let's check for null values once again. We can see that all the null values have been removed. Now let's check for correlation between the different columns. Let's drop the temp column. Now let's visualize a correlation using a Seaborn's heat map. So from this we can infer that the price is highly correlated to the service fee, followed by the number of reviews and the reviews per month. That brings us to the end of this video. Make sure to follow me on my social media handles to stay updated for more interesting content. Hope you got an idea on performing data analysis on the Airbnb dataset. Please do leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you found this video useful. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.